Modern life often feels like trying to drink from a fire hose. Our baseline state is a blur of racing thoughts and constant mental multitasking just to keep up with unending daily schedules. When your brain is operating at maximum capacity simply to survive the noise, you lack the bandwidth to process what is actually happening around you. You end up reacting to your environment instead of consciously experiencing it. A man named Carl found a way to slow that process down. It doesn't involve an expensive retreat or a complicated productivity hack. It starts with a highly unglamorous morning routine. He wakes up at 6 a.m. before grand ambitions take over. Physical reality sets in. As he points out, getting older means dealing with a smaller bladder, so the very first stop is the bathroom. After that, he heads downstairs and lets the dogs out into the yard. It is a quiet, entirely ordinary sequence. But before anyone can tackle the complexities of the outside world, they must first anchor their physical and mental state in the present. Once his head is clear, Carl makes a cup of coffee and settles in. He reads a daily scripture passage, and then he reads his personal affirmations aloud to his dogs, who are naturally excellent listeners. The part that pulls his entire morning together happens next. He opens a journal. This diagram illustrates the strict rule of his daily practice. Every single morning, he must write down 3 things he is grateful for, and he cannot repeat a single item for 30 consecutive days. As you burn through the obvious items in the first week, you have to look harder. You start noticing the value in the tiniest details. Carl found himself writing down how grateful he was to simply have a toothbrush, rather than waking up and having to clean his teeth with a twig. Enforcing strict constraints on what you document forces the brain to hunt for value in the mundane. It's a way to short-circuit the chaotic baseline of a racing mind. The immediate result of Carl's morning habit is a massive deceleration. His thoughts drop from a perceived pace of 700 million miles an hour down to a manageable, steady rhythm. In the past, his conversations were an exercise in mental multitasking. While someone else was talking, his brain was already working overtime to formulate a rebuttal before they even finished their sentence. With a quieted mind, he can actually give people his full attention. He listens to understand what the speaker is communicating, rather than merely listening to reply. This flowchart highlights the behavioral shift that occurs when thoughts slow down. When we operate in a rush, our thoughts overlap and tangle into an instinctual reaction, but by introducing a pause, we create a linear, deliberate sequence. We move from reacting to consciously responding. Self-directed gratitude acts as a cognitive brake pedal. It creates the necessary mental space to genuinely connect with and understand other people. This mental space creates a complex emotional dynamic. A friend recently asked Carl a difficult question. How is it possible to maintain empathy and find the good in tragic situations without sounding dismissive? To answer that, we have to look at this diagram comparing 2 specific relationship models. Feeling sorry for someone operates as a top-down hierarchy. That is pity, and it creates distance. True empathy is a horizontal bridge. It requires understanding their situation on an equal level. Carl's friend presented a severe test case for this mindset, an acquaintance who was permanently confined to a wheelchair following a car accident. The standard pity response is to look down and say, "I am so sorry this happened to you." That hits a visual dead end. Carl's response takes a different route. He looks at the fact that the man survived and instead says, "I am grateful you are alive. What can I do to make your life better?" Profound empathy requires stripping away our own discomfort with the tragedy. It uses gratitude to locate the actionable positive in another person's reality. When practiced daily, gratitude stops being an internal feeling and becomes an active behavior. It translates into walking out into your neighborhood and telling a neighbor their yard looks great, or looking a grocery store clerk in the eye and sincerely thanking them for their help. If a stranger looks troubled, it means taking a moment to walk up and ask if there is anything you can do to help. These small actions make people who might feel invisible feel seen. In this sense, gratitude is the face of a positive attitude. The private choice to acknowledge the good in the morning eventually shows up in how you treat your neighbor in the afternoon. It changes the way you show up for others. There will inevitably be moments where you feel overwhelmed or trapped in a cycle of self-pity. When those moments hit, Carl has an immediate challenge. Physically stop what you are doing. Find a quiet space, sit down, and take a moment to relax. Then write down a list of exactly 10 specific things you are thankful for in that exact moment. The physical act of documenting your gratitude forces your brain to redirect its focus. It breaks the cycle of negativity and provides a more balanced perspective. By managing your internal narrative through these daily habits, you change the way you perceive and engage with the world around you.